Hello, I'm glad you're here. Before we begin, I want to ask you something. Think about the past week, about how each of your mornings started. Was there a moment, maybe even before you opened your eyes, maybe at the first sound of your alarm, when you felt tired? Not the kind of tiredness you feel after a busy day. A different kind. The kind that's already there before you've done anything. The kind of tiredness that doesn't go away after coffee, that doesn't disappear after the weekend, that follows you like a shadow, no matter how much you sleep, no matter how much you rest. If that's you, stay with me. This episode is for you. I know you've probably heard a lot about burnout already. Maybe you're even thinking, another video about the same thing. I know I should rest. I know I should set boundaries. But it's not that simple. And you're right, it's not that simple. Especially when you're not in your early 20s anymore. When you've already made decisions you can't undo. Loans, kids, a career you've been building for years, and you still have just as much ahead of you, maybe more. And suddenly a question appears. One you didn't expect to be asking at this point in life. Is this how it's going to be until the end? That question hurts, and it often comes with the feeling that you don't have the right to complain, because you have a job, you have a home, you have a family. Other people have it worse, right? Actually, no. Just because someone has it worse doesn't mean your pain isn't real. Comparing yourself to others who are struggling more is a trap. It's a way of silencing your own pain, but pain doesn't disappear when you ignore it. It only goes deeper, and it comes back stronger. This episode isn't about complaining, it's about understanding, because when you understand what's happening to you, you can start doing something about it, in small steps. Realistically, without a revolution that wouldn't last anyway. Before we go any further, I have a request. In the comments, answer one question. When was the last time you felt truly rested? Not only physically, but mentally too. Do you remember a moment like that? Was it a long time ago? You don't have to write much. One word is enough, or one sentence. I want to know what you're bringing here. Alright, let's begin. If you wake up already tired before the day even starts, it may not be about sleep or age. It may be a sign that burnout is taking your energy before you have a chance to restore it. Burnout is not made up. It's not a weakness of character. It's not a first world problem of a generation that has it too easy. In 2019, the World Health Organization officially recognized burnout as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And that matters. This isn't about one hard project. It isn't about one bad week. It's about a state that builds over months, sometimes years. Burnout is not ordinary fatigue. Fatigue goes away with rest. Burnout doesn't. You can take a vacation, go to the seaside, sleep until noon for 2 weeks, and come back just as exhausted as before. Because the problem isn't the amount of sleep, the problem is deeper. Psychologist Christina Maslach, who studied this phenomenon for decades, described 3 core dimensions of burnout. It's worth knowing them because they help you understand what you're really dealing with. First, emotional exhaustion. That feeling that you have nothing left to give, that your inner resources are at zero. You wake up tired, you end the day tired. Rest doesn't help because this isn't ordinary physical fatigue. It's soul deep exhaustion. You used to come back to work after the weekend with new energy. Now the weekend isn't enough. A vacation isn't enough. Even a month off feels like it wouldn't be enough, because you know you'll return to the same thing. People describe this feeling in different ways, like I'm an empty vessel, like I'm running on batteries that never recharge, like I'm pulling a cart uphill but the hill never ends, like someone unplugged me, and it doesn't stay at work, it spills into your whole life. You don't have energy for your family, you don't have energy for friends, you don't have energy for yourself. Everything becomes effort. Even things that used to bring you joy now feel like another task to check off. And worst of all, you feel guilty for being tired because others manage, because you don't have the right to complain, and so the exhaustion feeds itself. Second, depersonalization, cynicism. This is a defense mechanism. When you can't give empathy anymore because you simply don't have it, you start to detach. Clients become cases to handle. Patients become situations. Students become problems. Co-workers become obstacles. And here's the painful part. Often the people who burn out fastest are the ones who used to care the most, the ones who were deeply engaged, who genuinely wanted to help, who believed their work mattered. Cynicism isn't your true nature. It's armor. It's the way your mind tries to survive. I remember a conversation with a doctor who worked in an ER for 20 years. He told me, I used to feel with every patient that I was doing something important. Now I look at them and I only think about when my shift ends. He was ashamed of it. He thought he had become a bad person, but he didn't become a bad person. He burned out. His empathy ran out because he gave for years without replenishing his resources. Third, reduced sense of effectiveness. That feeling that whatever you do, it doesn't matter, that your effort changes nothing, that you might as well not show up, and the world wouldn't collapse. Maybe no one would even notice. This can be especially hard in midlife, because by now you were supposed to have achieved something. You were supposed to be in a place where you feel fulfilled, and instead you feel emptiness. When you look at your career, you see years of effort, but you don't see meaning. You don't see what it was all for. And instead of pride, you feel disappointment, sometimes even shame. Let me tell you about Mark. Mark is 42. He's a mid-level manager in a manufacturing company. He's been there for 18 years. He started as an entry-level employee, got promoted, built his position. He has a wife, 2 kids, 1 in high school, 1 in college, a mortgage, a car loan, a normal life, right? His wife told him she doesn't recognize him anymore, that he's like a robot, that he comes home from work, sits in front of the TV, and disappears, that the kids stop talking to him because he never listens anyway. When I asked Mark how he feels at work, he answered, normal. I do what I have to. I asked more questions. What does his typical day look like? What does he feel when he drives to work in the morning? What does he feel when he comes back? His answers were short, flat, as if he were talking about someone else, as if he were watching himself from a distance. Only after an hour did he tell the truth. I wake up in the morning and for a moment I wonder if there's any point in getting up. Not because I want to die. I just don't see a reason to live. I don't care. Mark had been burned out for years, but he didn't know what to call it. He thought this is just what adulthood looks like. The worst part was that no one noticed. At work he was professional. He hit his targets, he got bonuses. From the outside, he looked like a success, but inside, he was empty. Mark's story wasn't about a sudden change. There was no single breakthrough moment. It was a sequence of small shifts. First, naming what he felt. Then, one evening a week just for himself. Then, an honest conversation with his wife about what he was really going through. Mark didn't change jobs. He didn't move away. He didn't do anything dramatic. But something changed. He started living more consciously, being more present, feeling things again. Recently, he told me, "I don't know if I'm happy, but at least I know I'm alive." That might sound like little, but for someone who felt like a robot for years, it's everything. Gallup research from 2023 shows that 76% of employees experience burnout at least sometimes. 28% say they feel burned out, very often or always. Think about those numbers, more than 3/4 of employees. This is not an individual problem. It's a systemic problem. It's an epidemic. Interestingly, the highest burnout levels are reported in the 35 to 54 age group. Why? Because this is a time of maximum load. You may have professional responsibility, decision-making roles. You may have family responsibility, kids, maybe aging parents. You may have financial responsibility, loans, bills, your children's future. And you may have fewer and fewer illusions that it'll get better soon. Research also shows something else. People burning out in midlife often feel it's too late to change, that they're too entangled in their life, that they can't afford the risk, that they have to hold on until retirement, and retirement is still so far away. That's a thinking trap, because in 20 years you'll regret not starting today. Better a small step now than a huge regret later. That's a recipe for burnout and for getting stuck in it. Before we move on to what you can do, we need to talk about the sources, because if you don't understand where this comes from, it will be hard to believe that change is possible. Burnout doesn't come from nowhere. It has concrete causes, and importantly, most of them are not your fault. Source 1. The structure of modern work. We live in an era that glorifies productivity. Hustle culture. You're worth as much as you produce. Rest is a luxury you have to earn, and ideally you don't rest at all. You optimize instead, even sleep, even vacations. Technology was supposed to help us. It was supposed to give us more free time. Instead, it blurred the boundary between work and home. The work phone rings at 10 p.m. Emails arrive on Sunday. And even if no one explicitly expects you to reply, you know you will. Because that's how it is. Because competition never sleeps. Because what will people think? Research by Leslie Perlow at Harvard Business School shows that a culture of constant availability creates an expectation of responsiveness that in itself increases tension and stress, even when nobody calls and no emails come in, because being continuously on standby drains energy and attention. Add to that open plan offices that make concentration harder, endless meetings that steal time from real work, communication tools that bombard you with notifications, and the culture that says if you're not busy, something must be wrong. The paradox is that the more connected we are, the lonelier we feel. The more communication tools we have, the harder it is to truly communicate. The more we optimize time, the less of it we have. I'm not saying things were better in the past. Technology has real benefits, but the way we use it at work, often against ourselves, is a systemic problem, and it's very hard to resist as an individual. In that environment, burnout isn't the exception, it's the norm. Source 2, the midlife crisis. I know it sounds like a cliche, but a midlife crisis is not a joke, and it's not just about red sports cars. Psychologist Erik Erikson described this period as a conflict between generativity and stagnation. Generativity is the need to create something meaningful, to leave a mark, to pass something on to the next generation. Stagnation is the feeling that life has no direction, that you're stuck, that nothing you do makes sense. At a certain age, you start asking questions you avoided before. Is this the life I wanted? Were my choices right? What if I wasted my best years? Those questions aren't bad in themselves. On the contrary, they can lead to deep growth. The problem appears when you ask them in a state of exhaustion, when you don't have the resources to answer them. Then, instead of transformation, you get paralysis. There's also a biological side. In midlife, hormones change. Testosterone levels drop in men, hormones shift in women. The body doesn't recover as fast as it used to. Sleep becomes lighter, energy is lower, and the demands stay the same or increase. And there's one more element people rarely talk about. In midlife, you start losing people. Parents pass away, sometimes friends. You begin thinking about your own mortality in a way you didn't before. That's not hypochondria. It's a normal part of development, but it can deepen the sense of crisis. Source 3. Invisible burdens. There's a concept in psychology called mental load. It especially affects people who manage family life. It's not only physical tasks, laundry, cooking, cleaning. It's remembering everything, children's doctor visits, your mother-in-law's birthday, parent-teacher meetings, preschool payments, planning vacations, a gift for your friend's son's first communion. This invisible labor isn't appreciated because its effects aren't visible. You only notice it when something is missed, and the person carrying the load often can't even name why they're so tired. I'm not doing anything special, just normal life. Except normal life is a full-time job in itself. Add actual paid work, and you have a recipe for exhaustion. Research shows that mental load affects women especially, but not only. More and more men take on these responsibilities too, and more men buckle under them. Source 4. Lack of autonomy and control. Research on burnout consistently shows that one of the main drivers is lack of control over your work. It's not that the work is hard. Hard work can be satisfying. The issue is that you have no say. You don't decide how to organize your time. You don't have a voice in priorities. Your ideas are ignored. Changes are imposed from above without explanation. You feel like a cog in a machine, not a human being. In midlife, this can be especially painful because by now you were supposed to be someone, to have influence, to make decisions, and instead you feel more powerless than at the start of your career. Paradoxically, a promotion often makes it worse. You have more responsibility, but not necessarily more influence. More tasks, but less time for real work. More stress, but less satisfaction. Source 5. Values misalignment. This may be the most subtle source of burnout because it often isn't obvious at first glance. When you started your career, you had certain values. Maybe you wanted to help people. Maybe you wanted to create something beautiful. Maybe you wanted to solve problems. Over the years, the company's values, or the whole industry, may have changed, or your values matured and changed, and suddenly you realize you're doing things that go against what you believe in. You sell products you don't believe in. You use practices you find unethical. You chase goals that feel absurd, and day by day, little by little, you betray yourself. That drains you, not physically, spiritually. Because when your work is in conflict with your values, you lose a sense of integrity. You lose respect for yourself. And there is no amount of rest that can fix that. I know people who made great money but hated what they did. And I know people who made much less but felt their work mattered. The second group was mentally healthier. They had more energy. They were more present in their lives. That doesn't mean you have to quit your job immediately, but it's worth at least becoming aware of where the conflict is. Because until you can see it, you can't do anything about it. Sometimes it's enough to change roles within the same company. Sometimes it's a conversation with your manager about different projects. Sometimes it's finding meaning outside of work. And sometimes, yes, sometimes you have to leave. But that's a last resort, not the first step. In the 2009 film Up in the Air, George Clooney plays Ryan Bingham, a man whose job is to fire people. He's perfectly composed, effective, cold. And over time, you see how the emotional isolation that was meant to protect him becomes his biggest problem. Ryan has a life philosophy, minimalism, no commitments, no baggage. Literally, his goal is to fit his entire life into one backpack. Sounds like freedom, right? But throughout the film, we see that this freedom is really an escape from being hurt, from being involved, from feeling that anything matters. There's a scene where a young co-worker asks Ryan, "Have you ever really been committed to something?" He can't answer, because the answer is no. For years he's been functioning on autopilot. He does his job, he's effective, but inside he's empty. Ryan is a classic example of someone burned out without even knowing it, because burnout can look like success, it can look like composure, it can look like professionalism, but underneath is emptiness. And only near the end, when his carefully constructed world starts to crumble, does Ryan face the question, do I want to keep living like this? That film is worth watching. Not because it gives easy answers, it doesn't, but because it shows what burnout can look like from the outside and what it feels like from the inside. Alright, we've talked about what burnout is and where it comes from. Now the practical question, what can you do about it? And here I need to say something very important. Not all advice fits everyone. Your situation is unique, your limitations are real. If you have kids, a mortgage, a sick parent to care for, you can't just drop everything and move to Bali. I know that. I'm not going to tell you things that sound beautiful in motivational Instagram posts, but don't apply to real life for ordinary people. What I'm going to offer you are small steps, sometimes very small, because change doesn't have to be big and fast. Big, fast changes often don't last. They look impressive, but a month later you're back where you started. What we're looking for is direction. Even a 1-degree change in course, if you maintain it for years, will take you somewhere completely different. Math is unforgiving. Small changes compound into big transformations. I have 5 steps for you. You don't have to do them all. Maybe one of them will resonate, maybe 2, or maybe none. And that's okay too. Maybe you need something completely different. Listen to yourself. That's enough for a start. And please, be gentle with yourself. This isn't about doing everything perfectly, it's about starting. One important note before we go on. These steps are not commands. They're suggestions. They're possibilities. I only know your situation through what I imagine. You know it for real. So take what fits, leave what doesn't, adapt it to yourself, because in the end, you are the expert on your own life. Step 1. Name what you feel. Sounds simple, right? But many people live in a state of exhaustion without naming it. Like Mark, whose story I told earlier. For years he thought it was just how things are, that it was normal, that adulthood looks like this. Naming something gives you power over it. When you say, I'm burned out, I'm exhausted, this isn't normal and I don't want to live like this, something shifts. You stop being a victim of a vague discomfort. You become someone who sees the problem and can look for solutions. Psychologist Susan David, the author of the concept of emotional agility, talks about how important precision is in naming emotions. Not I feel bad, but I feel depleted, I feel powerless, I feel my work is meaningless, I feel like I failed myself. Take a piece of paper or open a notes app and write, what exactly do I feel? Be brutally honest, no one will read it. It's for you. Research shows that the act of naming emotions, so-called affect labeling, reduces the intensity of negative feelings. It's neurobiology. When you put a name to something, you engage the prefrontal cortex, which regulates emotions. Literally, naming calms you down. You can go further. You can track your feelings for a week, morning and evening, a few sentences. It will help you see patterns. When do you feel worse? What triggers it? When is it a little better? Step 2. Find one moment for yourself. I know you don't have time. I know your calendar is full. I know every free moment is immediately taken by someone or something. But please, find one moment. Not an hour, not half an hour, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 10. A moment that will be only yours, every day at the same time. I'm not telling you what to do in that time. Maybe you'll drink coffee in silence. Maybe you'll look out the window. Maybe you'll walk. Maybe you'll sit in your car in the driveway for 5 minutes before going inside. Whatever. The point is to have one moment when no one expects anything from you, when you don't have to be productive, when you can simply be. It sounds like nothing, but for someone in burnout, it can be revolutionary, because burnout often means you don't exist for yourself. You exist only as a function. Employee, parent, partner, caregiver. That moment is a reminder. I exist too. I have a right to space. Research on psychological recovery shows that even short moments of micro-recovery during the day matter. You don't need a spa weekend. You need consistency. Small doses of space. Daily. It may be hard at first. You may feel guilty. You may think you're wasting time. That's normal. Do it anyway. After a week, you'll notice a difference. Step 3. Reclaim one boundary. Boundaries are easy to talk about and hard to implement, especially if you have spent years learning that your value depends on how much you give others. I'm not telling you to suddenly set hard boundaries everywhere. That won't work. People around you are used to how you function. A sudden change will trigger resistance. Instead, choose one boundary. Just one. Small, but important to you. Maybe it's, I don't respond to work emails after 6 p.m. Or, I don't open my laptop on Sundays. Or, when I'm walking the dog, I don't take calls about work. Or, I say no to one extra project this month. Pick something achievable. Something you can actually do and stick to it for a month. Don't announce it, don't explain, just do it. After a month, you'll notice something interesting. The world didn't collapse. The company survived, people adjusted, and you have a little more space. Then you can add a second boundary and a third. Small steps. No revolution. One note. People around you may react negatively at first. They may ask what happened, they may say you've changed. Some may even try to shame you. That's normal. People don't like it when others change the rules of the game, but that's their problem, not yours. You're doing what you need to survive. Step 4, talk to someone. This is the step many people, especially men in midlife, find the hardest, because burnout often comes with shame. I should be able to handle it, others manage. What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You're tired. That's it. And you deserve support. You don't have to go to a psychologist right away, though if you can, I recommend it. Research clearly shows that therapy helps with burnout, especially in approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy or acceptance and commitment therapy. But if that's too big a step right now, talk to someone close, a friend, a partner, a sibling, someone you trust. And here's an important detail. Tell that person what you need from the conversation. Do you need them to listen? Do you want advice? Do you simply need to know someone understands? Often when we talk about problems, the other person automatically tries to fix things. But you may not need fixing. You need to be heard. Say it directly. I don't need solutions right now. I need you to listen. Research on social support shows that the presence of someone who understands can lower cortisol, the stress hormone. You don't have to solve anything in that conversation. The conversation itself is part of the solution, and there's something else. When you say your problems out loud, you hear them differently. Sometimes only then do you realize how serious the situation is, or the opposite, how some things shrink when spoken aloud. The act of speaking has therapeutic power. You don't need a perfect friend. You don't need a partner who always understands. You just need someone willing to listen, without judgment, without interrupting, without giving advice you didn't ask for. A person like that is priceless. Step 5, ask yourself one question. This last step may be the hardest, but it's also potentially the most transformational. The question is, what makes me feel alive? Not what should I do? Not what's practical. Not what makes money. But what makes me feel something? What gives me energy instead of taking it? When was the last time I was so absorbed in something that I lost track of time? Maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe you have to go back to childhood. That's okay. The point is to remember that you once knew how to feel alive, that it's in you, that burnout hasn't erased that part of you, it's just buried it. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the creator of the concept of flow, studied for decades what gives people a sense of fulfillment, and he found it's not about pleasure or success. It's about engagement, about being absorbed in something that is both challenging and meaningful. Burnout is the opposite of flow. It's a state where you do things but don't feel them, where you function but don't live. The question, what makes me feel alive, is an invitation to remember there is another way, that it doesn't have to be like this, that somewhere inside you there's a person who can feel, and that it's worth finding them. Maybe the answer comes right away. Maybe you'll have to think. Maybe it will surprise you. Maybe it will be something you forgot, something you dismissed as childish or impractical, something you abandoned because adults don't do that. Go back to it, even for a moment, even in your mind, because that's a compass, that's direction, that's something worth moving toward. Let me tell you one more story about Kate. She's 48. She's an accountant. She's worked at the same company for 23 years. For months, Kate barely slept. She lay awake at night with her eyes open, thinking about work. Not about specific problems, just that tomorrow she has to go again, and the day after, and next week, and next year. When I asked her what she likes to do outside of work, she was silent for a long time. Finally, she said, "I used to paint pictures, watercolors, but that was a long time ago. I don't have time for that." After a while, she went back to painting. No big plans, no ambition, just a few minutes a day, only for herself. The first days were hard. She said it was stupid, that she didn't know what to paint, that she had no talent, that she was wasting time. But after a week, something changed. She started waking up 15 minutes earlier so she could paint before work. And she discovered that she felt calmer for the rest of the day. That work overwhelmed her less, that she had something to look forward to. Kate didn't quit her job. She didn't move to the Tuscan countryside. She didn't change her life 180 degrees. But she added one thing to her life: 15 minutes of painting. And it was enough for her to start remembering who she is beyond the role of an accountant. After a few months, she did more. She signed up for an evening painting class. Once a week, 3 hours. She met people with similar passions. She started having a life outside of work. No, her job didn't suddenly become enjoyable. She's still an accountant. She still does things that bore her. But now she has something that balances the weight, something that gives her energy, something that is only hers. And interestingly, when Kate started taking care of herself, her relationships at work improved too, because she stopped being so bitter. She stopped commenting on everything so negatively. People noticed. Change doesn't have to be big. Sometimes all you need is a crack, a small window for light to come through. We're almost at the end. Let's summarize. Burnout is not weakness. It's not a whim. It's a real response of the body and mind to chronic stress that hasn't been successfully managed. It affects millions of people, especially those in midlife, carrying maximum loads, professional, family, financial. Those who have started asking, is this how it's going to be forever? Is this the life I wanted? The sources of burnout are complex. The structure of modern work, invisible burden, lack of control, values conflict, a crisis of meaning. It's not your fault that you feel this way, but it is your responsibility to do something about it. And you have options, even if you can't see them today. You can name what you feel. You can find one moment for yourself. You can reclaim one boundary. You can talk to someone. You can ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? You don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to do anything perfectly. One step is enough. Small, today, because change isn't that one day you wake up and everything is different. Change is doing something a little differently every day. And a year later, looking back and seeing how far you've come. I know that can be frustrating. You want a solution right now. You want a formula that works immediately. But burnout didn't develop in a day, and it won't disappear in a day. It's a process, and it requires patience. Above all, patience with yourself. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to be a hero. You don't have to prove you can handle it. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. I want to tell you one more thing. The fact that you're here, that you watched this episode to the end, already means something. Many people in burnout don't even look for help. They tell themselves it's normal, that everyone feels this way, that there's no point complaining. You're looking, that means some part of you believes it can be different. Listen to that part. Thank you for being with me. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who might need it. Often, the most burned out people are the last ones to ask for help. Maybe you can be the person who sends them this video. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. On this channel, we talk about psychology, calmly, without sensationalism, without commands. We try to understand ourselves and the world, and we look for small steps that can change a life. Take care. See you in the next episode. And one more thing, at the very end. If what you heard today stirred something deep in you, if you felt that someone finally described what you feel, know that this feeling matters. Don't ignore it. It's a signal that it's time to change something, even if you don't yet know what. Start with a small step, one today, and remember, you're not alone.